Namaste. 100 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, this region used to be a violent and a wild sea, full of prehistoric marine reptiles. This territory was the home of the Monkerosaurus boyacensis, which was a kind of prehistoric lizard of the genus of plesiosaurs, a voracious carnivore animal distinguished by its small head, long thin neck, wide turtle-like body, short tails, and two pairs of large elongated fins, simply known as the fossil. The first traces of human presence in the region date back to 12,000 years before Christ, and the Muiscas peoples are mentioned as the first pre-Columbian human societies. The Muiscas had an organized civil society with advanced knowledge of agriculture and astronomy, but they also had a characteristic cosmogony and a special way of perceiving the world and the universe. Let us see, according to them, how the world was populated and what the myth of Bachue is about. An ancient Muisca legend tells that the beginning of humanity came from a beautiful woman who emanated from the Iguaque Lagoon, along with a child whom she carried in her right arm. This woman was the goddess Bachue, mother and creator of this pre-Columbian people. The story goes that when they left the lagoon, she and the young boy went into the forest for a long time until the boy became a man and joined Bachue, and both fulfilled their mission of populating the Mother Earth. After giving rise to humanity, they returned to the Iguaque Lagoon, converted into large snakes, and since then they have inhabited the deep waters of this lagoon. Centuries later, when the arrival of the Spanish conquerors overcame its initial period of conflicts and the conquest was consolidated, this village enhanced its economic growth and allowed the perfection of a large-scale agricultural work, positioning itself as the main producer of wheat in the country, whose processing led to the construction of many mills. Under this great economic boom, it was built a beautiful colonial town with stone paved streets, white walls, and wooden balconies, which even today, by legal mandate, maintains the same architecture. At the dawn of the 19th century, during the period of independence, this small town played a decisive role in the genesis of the nation and the consolidation of the Colombian Republic as a sovereign state. Nowadays, this pleasing location is recognized inside and outside the country as an ideal destination for resting, encountering with history, science, art, and culture, besides having spectacular spaces for living magical experiences with nature. It has also known for its semi-desert climate and low light pollution as ideal landing place for astronomical observation. The city dwellers come to this small and picturesque town in search of pleasant gatherings, gastronomic events, country walks, and even jazz festivals and kite contests. We are very pleased to introduce you to the charming town of Villa de Leyva, a special destination located in the Boyacá department, Republic of Colombia, a cozy place just 3 hours from Bogotá, an unmissable journey when you come to visit Colombia. From this soil, today we will be sharing a new prime story for the world of mediation. Our condensed story of mediation from these scenic places is related to the presentation of some aspects that we consider to be the basics of any mediation process. To this end, it is appropriate to clarify that is our vision, and this overview is neither the only one, nor is there uniformity in the criteria among academics about these components. However, as we always insist, the abundance of opinions and visions in any field of human knowledge enriches the debate and enables you to define your own point of reference, which, at the end of the day, it is the one that turns out to be the most relevant. Without further ado, we believe that, in general terms, the fundamentals of mediation are a real controversy between two or more people, a contextual diagnosis of the interests that underlie the dispute, the shared commitment of the parties involved in the dispute, focused on resolving the controversy, or at least the clear intention to dialogue around it, an impartial facilitator, who is generically called the mediator, duly empowered by the parties and in charge of guiding them throughout the process. And finally, a working method or set of agreed rules on how the mediation will proceed from beginning to end. Now, let's take a closer look at these elements. Let us see what a controversy is. We could say that it is a confrontation or discussion that involves several people who dispute some specific and real interests. In this element, it is vitally important that all the people affected in it discuss the causes and their eventual consequences for all of them. At this stage, it is not convenient to talk about solutions yet. How to propose a possible solution if the parties have not even understood why they arrived at this stage. Then it's time to talk about interests. Regarding this element, we can say that those are the motivations or reasons that people have, or at least say they have, to act in one way or another. Regarding this component, we recommend primarily listening to the reasons that all the people involved argue to justify their vision. In this way, they will understand, even if they don't agree, why a person had a certain behavior in the past. Let's go through an example. If the tenant doesn't pay the rent, the landlord may think that the tenant is shameless, and probably the law would agree. But if the landlord asks in a friendly dialogue why the tenant doesn't pay the rent, maybe could know that he or she has lost the job, or even worse, that is paying a costly medical treatment for his child. The non-payment may or may not be justified, but if the landlord doesn't dialogue, we'll never know the reasons behind that. Let's move forward to the next element. the shared commitment of the parties. No conflict can be resolved if all parties don't agree. But how do they come to an agreement if it's not through a constructive dialogue? Therefore, the suggestion is, when facing a controversy, always dialogue. Obviously, open a dialogue without discrimination, without pejorative terms, and aimed more at building agreements than at admonishing past behaviors. Regarding the mediator, there is a lot to express, and we dedicate a complete episode to the facilitator that will soon go on air. However, for now, let's say that the mediator must be chosen or approved by common agreement by all the people involved in the controversy. If this is not the case, it will be very difficult for the mediator to do the job properly. In the same way, the mediator must be a balanced, dynamic, impartial person and a bearer of great communication resources. Finally, the method or the set of rules. The mediation mechanism must be agreed upon in advance. In fact, we recommend that this be the first agreement in the whole mediation. But what rules must be agreed upon? We recommend that at a minimum, the parties must agree on the time and duration of the sessions of mediation, how to choose the mediator, the forms of termination of negotiation, and the legal instrument in which the parties will collect the agreement that ends the conflict. And lastly, we suggest to agree on good practices, to define rules that, for some reason, haven't been previously agreed upon by the parties. The finest sunlight or moonlight wherever you are in this lovely planet.